Welcome back today. Today we're going to be doing the LeetCode question, best time to buy and sell stock. This is like a very common LeetCode question and it also has like 4 parts to it, but today we're going to be doing the first part. So essentially you're given an array of prices where each index is representing a day and the prices is the price of a given stock at that day. And so essentially you want to return your answer as the max profit that you can achieve. So how usually stocks work is you want to buy at a low price and then sell at a high price so you can create profit. So if we don't create any profit, we're going to return zero. So that will happen if the price of the first day is like very high and it just keeps dropping. There's not going to be a point where you can buy and then sell to gain a profit, right? So negative profits can be zero here. And so that's essentially the question. And before we get onto the iPad, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, right? It really helps me keep going and make more videos for you guys. And let me know down in the comment section down below, any kind of videos you want to see. And yeah, let's get into the iPad. All right, so let's get into the iPad explanation here. So I have the two examples that were on LeetCode, and to explain these examples, essentially, I'll example with the first example, right? So 715,364. This represents the first day, and this represents the last day of some like window of like a week or whatever of like the stock prices on a given day. So what you want to do is you want to buy when it's low, right? You want to buy the stock when it's low, and then you want to sell when it's high, right? That's how you create profit. So in this case, what the question is you'll basically buy when it's at 1, right? This is the lowest value that it is in this window, and then you'll sell when it's 6. So that gives you a max profit of 5, right? And if you try any other combinations of the two numbers, you won't get a bigger profit. You can't, go in the past. So you can't say I'm going to buy at 1 and then sell in the past for 7. That's not possible, right? So once you're past a certain index, you can't go backwards. That's kind of the idea. Same thing here for this other one. You can see that there's no day that you can buy and have a positive profit, right? If I buy at 4, I can't sell any of these days 3 to 1 because I'm going to sell at a smaller price. So I'm going to be negative profits. That's why we return an answer of 0. So that's kind of the idea. Now you might think about how do we do this? Well, one way I can think of doing this, the brute force approach, is like, hey, let's just pick a day that you want to buy. So let's say I'm going to buy on the first day and then see what my max profit is, okay? Then we go on to the next element, say, hey, I want to buy at 1, check what the max profit is, look through all the numbers right after it, and then be like, okay, now we go to 5. We keep doing this for all the elements till the second to last, because we're not going to, if we buy on this day, we can't sell it, right? So second to last element, we keep doing that, and then the max of all of those profits will be the maximum. So if you think about it, the brute force will essentially involve a double for loop, right? Essentially, we're going to go from for I is going to be 0 till n minus 2, right? Second to last. We don't want to, basically the outer loop is when we're buying, and then the inner loop is going to check when we can sell, right? So we're going to go second to last, and then for I or j, I plus 1. So we can't go backwards, right? So I'm not going to start at 0. I'm going to start at the next day, right? Till n minus 1. And essentially what we're going to do is like, we're going to check nums at j minus nums at I. So remember, I is the time when I buy, and then j is when I sell. This is going to be our profit, right? So this right here is going to be the profit. I'm just label it as P and say, hey, if P is greater than my max profit, which is MP, for example, MP should become P. And then we're going to keep doing this, and it's going to go through all the pairs, or basically all possible pairs. And you'll see that the time complexity here will be O of n squared, right? Because we have the double for loop, and our space complexity would just be O of 1, right? There's no extra space we're taking. This is okay, but this is not the best solution. N squared, that can get pretty slow. So what is the better solution? Well, remember what I said, right? When you're at a certain date, you don't go backwards, you keep going forward. So maybe we don't even need to check necessarily all the pairs, right? We can just look at, okay, let's just say there's a minimum day and I'm going to buy at that date. Because let's say I bought at 1. Well, there's no reason I'm going to buy again at 3, really, right? Unless there's like, honestly, there is no reason, right? Because regardless, if we have a bigger number somewhere, well, 1 is always going to reel in more profit than a 3 will, right? And an even smaller number, we can always switch to that number itself, right? So let's think of a linear solution. So a linear approach, essentially one pass, right? So the linear approach can be essentially, I'm going to pick the day that I buy, or like a minimum value as let's say it's just the first day, right? The first day is what we're going to choose, nums at 0. Then we're going to go for I from 1, because we already bought up the day, right? So this is essentially trying to figure out when the other days basically passed the first day. So n minus 1, and we're check, hey, is nums at I right now, like, is it less than my minimum? If it is, well, there's no point in using that other minimum value. Let's just make that the minimum value, right? Let's just say that's nums at I, right? Now, if it's not, well, now let's see if we have profit. So MP, we can just use max again, MP, and it will essentially be, so remember, this I is the day we're going to sell, and the minimum value is the day we're going to buy. So nums at I minus min value, and whichever is larger will be stored at our max, and then we can return this. Now, we know this works because if we were to dry run this on the example 7, 1, 5, and 3, 6, 4, if we dry run this, right, we're going to see, okay, first we picked 7 as the day we're going to buy this stock. Then we're going to go in, we're going to see, hey, 1 is less than my minimum value. So now the day I buy is going to be the 1. Now, we're going to keep going to 5. It's not less than, so let's calculate profit. So our profit right now, or MP, max profit, will be 5 minus 1, which is 4. Then we're going to go to 3. 3 minus 1 will be 2. It's not more than the max still stays. 6 minus 1 will be 5, so it works out. And then 4 minus 1 will be 3. It's not greater than 5, so we get our answer of 5. And any other time that, in this case, right, for this example where it's decreasing, well, our MP will start off at 0, right? And so anytime it's negative, we're not going to get it. 0 is not going to be smaller than the negative number, so it's always going to end up being 0. So, and oops, I wrote min value here. We're going to return max profit, right? So max profit will be returned there. And one, I guess, interesting case is like, let's say sometimes like the minimum, like for example, if there was a 50-cent stock at the end, well, it's good that we're not actually considering that to be the day we want to buy, because then otherwise there's no day to sell, right? So remember that, like, we're not going back in the past. So that's why if you just keep this running total, what the min value is and the max profit is, then this will solve the question for us. So let's get into the code and let's see how it's.
All right, so let's get into the code here. So remember, I'm doing this in C++, but you can do this in any language. The concepts will transfer over. So first things first, you want to initialize the min value, which is essentially the 0th index price. And this is the date that we're saying we're going to first buy the stock at, right? That's what we're assuming. And then we're going to have the max profit, which is essentially going to be 0. Because remember, we don't want to go anything less, because anything negative is going to be returned as a 0. So that's why the max profit 0, and it's not something like, int like min, right? Because we don't want negative profits in this answer, at least, right? So then we start from the first index, right? Because we assume that the first day or the 0th index is when we buy, and then we're going to go the whole length, right? And essentially we're going to check, hey, is my current prices that I'm on with the index I, is that actually less than my minimum value, right? Because if it is, then hey, that's going to be the minimum value. This is going to determine the day that we're going to buy this stock. So anything small, right, we're like, hey, let's buy the stock here, because now we have a higher chance of having a profitable day, right, or higher profit day. If it's not, right, then we want to calculate our max profit, which is going to be the max profit, right? It could be that value itself, or we're going to do prices at I minus the min value. What we're saying is prices at I here is the day we're going to sell. So this is the sell date, and we're checking, hey, is that delta actually bigger than what we have currently? And if it is, it's going to store the max profit, right? And if we just run this, we should pass these 2 test cases as long as we don't have any errors here. And as you can see, we do. Let's just submit, make sure we pass all the LeetCode test cases here. And yeah, we do. So you see how this question, it's a simple question, it is easy, but it was marked a medium, and it's asked very commonly across big tech companies. And so it's just, it's just interesting to see how, a simple concept, just like, this is more like a greedy concept, like a greedy algorithm type thing, where you're trying to basically choose always the minimum, and you're only going to sell on max days, right? We're not going to do the whole O of n squared type thing, where we pick a day that we're going to buy and then check all the other days, then go to the next day, assume we buy there, check all the days after that. We're not going to do all of that, right? That's going to be O of n squared, and not the most efficient way, where this one is O of n, which is the best way to do it. So yeah, make sure to like this video, right? Let me know in the comment section down below any other videos you're trying to see, any kind of development videos, all that kind of stuff. Make sure to subscribe, and I hope to see you on the next one.